This video is more of an introduction to fusions than it is more in-depth DPS testing. This general understanding video is for people who may be wondering what the changes have done to fusions, or for people new to the game that want to try them out, or wondering how fusions work. The information is relevant as of the start of Season 15, and I will put an updated link in the comments or the description to a video that will have updated information as fusion rifles are changed in significant ways. Anyways, let's get started. Firstly, for anybody curious about my testing, PvP just had a friend stand still, and in PvE I use the cluster of enemies that spawn in the Cosmodrome by where you get your ship during the New Light campaign. It's a consistent group of enemies that spawn in your own little instance, and they're always at the lowest possible power level for the... Starting things off, we have rapid fires. Rapid fire swapped from 7 bolts to 9 through the changes, and the damage got mixed around a bit to compensate for the extra bolts. The damage per bolt went down, but the total damage went up per burst. In PvE, this is a bonus of almost 4,000 per burst over their pre-patch existence, resulting in a total DPS from the regular mag size of 6 being just under 200,000, which is not bad for most special weapons. The higher RPM of this archetype also does well with crowds, and with sustained DPS. The next archetype is actually 2 archetypes, as I'm talking about both adaptive and precision at the same time. I know they're 2 different archetypes, but their function and feel are very similar. Firstly, they both have remained at 7 bolts post-patch, so they're pretty normal in terms of feel. Secondly, their damage and charge times only have slight differences. Adaptives and precisions only had a difference of about 100 or so damage in PvE versus the old dreg I used in the Cosmodrome, and the damage value difference in PvP is literally 2. So it comes down to charge time changes, which adaptives have a slightly faster charge time, but the precisions will have slightly more consistent damage. Overall, they're very good general use weapons. They have very little downsides comparatively to the other archetypes, and if you're just getting started with fusions, these are going to be your best friend. The next archetype is High Impact, which has gotten a whole host of changes as well. Bolts have gone down from 7 to 5. The damage went up significantly in PvP and PvE. Overall, they're kind of insane disregarding their charge time. PvE, a full burst does almost 4,000 extra damage over precisions in terms of test drag damage, meaning they have crazy burst DPS, but the full second charge time kind of holds them back from being the undisputed champion of fusions. Other fusions win out on occasions due to charge time in PvE, given certain encounters, and especially in PvP, but overall these are more for when something really needs to die. 63 damage per bolt in PvP means that low resilience supers will die outright to these without damage bonuses, and in PvE, some major enemy types get shredded depending on what you're doing. The last archetype is Aggressives. Now, if you played the game Beyond Light forward, there's only one fusion in the game currently that has this. It's the Europa fusion. And right now, the way that they are, they've received no changes from the patch. They're just kind of bad. The spread is entirely horizontal, which makes them really difficult to use in PvP and difficult to recommend. They're kind of awful for ad clear in PvE, and the boss damage, they're outclassed by high impacts, leaving very little room for these to play. If you used them before and you didn't like them, they haven't changed. You will not like them now. You will not find a use for them. The last section is going to be some general perk recommendations. As of Season of the Lost, there are 14 fusions in total, technically 16 including adept variants, and I'm going to give general recommendations here so that any future fusions you come across, you'll have a general idea of what you're looking for. To rule up scopes and batteries, it is entirely dependent on the fusion that you're farming and that stat spread. Rapid fires tend to lack range, so stacking that is generally a good approach, especially for PvE. Everything else, your aim is to get recoil direction in a good spot and then give any extra room to range. High impacts tend to suffer from recoil the most, so stability there is definitely your friend. I won't go too in depth with every perk combination in the game, but Under Pressure is a great consistency perk to have, where in PvE it means easier consistent DPS toward the bottom of the mag, and in PvP it's active off spawn since you only spawn with 2 bullets. Vorpal Weapon is the other perk that's great, since it's bonus DPS in PvE and bonus damage towards supers in PvP, but if you can't find Vorpal, then Reservoir Burst, Thresh, and High Impact Reserves all fit the bill for other needs. Other than that, the mathematical stuff and all that, everything else falls to preference, so play around with what you like, find what you like. Otherwise, until next time.